What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my 2021 NFL mock draft. What I would do mock draft, meaning this is not necessarily what I think is going to happen, but I'm just putting myself in the shoes of every single NFL general manager in this draft, and each pick is going to be what I would do. So now that's out of the way, let's get into it. Number 1 pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. Most people agree. It's going to be Trevor Lawrence. He is QB1 on my board. I think he has the best processor in the draft. He's very accurate, has a great arm, is very mobile for his size. He's not as mobile as some other guys in the draft, but that's certainly not a knock on his game. So I think he's just clearly the safest option here. Maybe doesn't have the highest ceiling, but he's a very good quarterback, and he's the best quarterback in my opinion. Now on to number 2, where this one's going to be a little bit more controversial probably. Right now it's pretty much consensus that the number 2 pick to the Jets is going to be Zach Wilson. I disagree, or I think that he could be or will be taken there, but if I were the Jets, I would take Justin Fields here. I think he has a higher ceiling. He's more mobile. He has a better arm, and I think Zach Wilson's processor is being overrated right now, and I think Justin Fields' processor is being underrated at the moment. A lot of people have a flaw or have a knock on Justin Fields' game, being that he stares down receivers too long, and I get that to an extent. I think that he does go for the home run a little bit too often, but I think Zach Wilson also has some flaws in his game. I think that this would be the right pick for the Jets. He'd be the Jets' franchise quarterback, so I'm going to have them taking him at number 2. Now on to number 3 with the San Francisco 49ers, who I'm going to have taking Zach Wilson. I know I just kind of bagged on Zach Wilson a little bit, but I still do think he's very good. He has a very good arm. He is very accurate. He's a decent decision maker, I guess. He's mobile. He is a very good player. He's very good out of structure. Probably today is the best player out of structure, with his ability to throw off balance and stuff like that. So, and especially with him going to a situation like the Niners, I think there's even a very good chance that in this scenario he ends up being the best quarterback in the class. So I think each of the top 3 picks, all great quarterbacks, all great picks. Which now on to number 4 with the Falcons. We're going to be having our first trade of the mock draft, and I'm going to have them trading down to number 9 with the Denver Broncos trading up. Don't pay attention to the picks here. I'm not predicting which picks will be involved in the trade. I'm just saying that the Broncos will probably be the team to trade up here, or at least I would. If I were the Broncos, trade up, and if I were the Falcons, I would trade down. And then with this 4th pick, I think the Broncos will be taking Trey Lance. I think that Drew Lock, some people are still into the Drew Lock boat, and I think that he's not. I'm not guaranteeing that he's never going to be a good quarterback, but I just think the Broncos, I do like their coaching staff. I like the offensive situation. I like their defense. I just think that they're a quarterback away from being a potentially contending team. And even this season, Trey Lance is probably not ready to jump into the NFL just yet, day 1. So maybe Drew Lock starts 8 games or whatever, and he plays pretty well. Maybe you could just flip him, next offseason, or maybe he plays so well that you don't even want Trey Lance anymore. You can flip him. I just think that at least bring in some competition for Drew Lock, if not completely commit to Trey Lance, who I haven't even talked about Trey Lance yet and how good he is. He has a very good processor, better than you'd expect from a freshman. Obviously, he took last year off, so he's a sophomore now, but most of the tape that I watched was him in his freshman year. He has a good pre-snap processor. He struggles a little bit with the accuracy, downfield specifically, and ball placement, but I think that should come with time, with just some mechanical issues that could be touched up a little bit. He has obviously a great arm. He's very mobile, super high ceiling, and I think that he can play in the NFL today. So that's why I have the Broncos taking him at 4th. Now 5th, the Cincinnati Bengals. This pick is pretty much come down to, in public consensus, I think, Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase or maybe Kyle Pitts. I'm going to be going a different route here, actually. I do think that the Bengals should be taking a tackle, but it's not necessarily the tackle that everyone thinks. I'm going to be taking Rashawn Slater, who I actually think is a better prospect than Penei Sewell. He has, Penei Sewell's obviously an athletic freak, but Rashawn Slater, tested better than him. I think he's also extremely athletic. He shows up on tape, and he has better technique right now. Obviously, that does come with him being older and having more experience playing, but it's also just, why risk having to develop Penei Sewell when you could take an already super athletic, super polished player in Slater? And I think he's going to be a great left tackle for the future for the Bengals. Sixth overall, we have the Dolphins. This is going to be a pass catcher, though probably not the one that most people would expect. Most people probably have them here going Kyle Pitts or Ja'Marr Chase, and I'm actually going to be going with Devontae Smith here. Not because I think Devontae Smith is the best receiver in the class. I actually have him as wide receiver 2 behind Ja'Marr Chase, but I do think that for the Dolphins, in the situation that they're in with the receivers that they currently have, their number one priority should be to get separation for Tua, and to get separation in that receiving core. Devontae Smith is the best separator in the class, and I still think overall he is close enough to Ja'Marr Chase that makes this a reasonable, logical pick. Now moving on to number 7, where we have the Detroit Lions. This is probably, in most people's opinion, a quarterback spot, though the top 4 QBs are off the board, and they do have Jared Goff there right now, so it's not a dire need. I'm going to have a player drafted here that's going to help build up the situation around Jared Goff or potentially the future quarterback there, and that's going to be Kyle Pitts. I think the best receiver in the class. He's super dynamic. He runs 4.38. He just mosses people all the time. He separates pretty well for a tight end, and he's just absolutely dominant. So I'm going to have the Lions taking him at 7, which takes us to number 8, where the Panthers, in my opinion, should select Penei Sewell. This is a pretty dream scenario for them. They do need a left tackle pretty badly now. Sam Darnold has gone through hell in New York with the Jets in terms of protection. So I think that to get him some protection to actually give him a fair chance to evaluate his talent would be good. And obviously Penei Sewell is a great player, super athletic, solid technique, better than you'd expect for someone as young as him. And I do think that he's a great prospect. So I'm going to have him at number 8, excuse me. Number 9, I'm going to have the Falcons picking there now because of the trade down with the Broncos. And at number 9, I'm going to have them taking edge rusher Jaelan Phillips. I think that it's a good spot for him. They trade down in front of potentially 2 teams that could take Jaelan Phillips in Dallas and New York. And Jaelan Phillips, you don't really maybe hear his name as much as you probably should. He did have some injury concerns with concussion specifically throughout his college career. He had a forced retirement, I believe, his freshman year. But this past year at Miami, he was absolutely dominant. Reminded me a lot of Chase Young from last year. He's probably not that good, and then there's also the medical concerns, but I do love Jaelan Phillips, and I do think he warrants a top 10 pick, even if, maybe his medicals are slightly concerning. Number 10, I'm going to have the Cowboys selecting impact player on the defensive side. They needed help on the defensive side last year a lot, and to me, the best defensive player in this class at this position is Jaycee Horn. In my opinion, the best corner in the class. Neck and neck with Patrick Surtain, but I think that Jaycee Horn's just unreal physicality. He's an ability to just do everything at the cornerback position. He tackles really well. Like I said, he's super physical. Obviously, he is great in man coverage, great in press. He can play zone, which the Cowboys run a lot. So I think that he could really fit anywhere, and the Cowboys just need a dynamic player on the defense, and I think that is going to be Jaycee Horn for them. Now moving on to the number 11 pick with the New York Giants. And this was actually a pretty tough pick for me. I was pretty deadlocked on them getting Jaelan Phillips earlier in the draft. And, outside of tackle, which they have a potential need at, they do have Thomas and Matt Pert, which, I think that's okay for now. Probably that doesn't warrant an 11th pick with no one being exceptional at tackle right now, in my opinion. Guard, they have a massive need at guard right now, but there's not really a guard that I'm willing to take at number 11. So for them, I think that right here it's just best player available, to be honest. I don't really see a potential trade down to any team right now. So I'm going to have them taking Ja'Marr Chase. They have Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, and Darius Slayton. I think that you could kick Slayton inside. He has primarily in his career played outside, but he could play in the slot for sure, I think. Have Jamar and Kenny Golladay on the outside, and then Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton on the inside. I think that's a very good receiving core. And, if Daniel Jones can't make it work with all of those weapons on offense, then you probably know he's not the guy. So I think that this is just a way to kind of test Daniel Jones and then potentially just get an absolutely elite player for the next quarterback in line if Daniel Jones doesn't work out. A lot of people would probably want the Eagles tier to take Jalen Waddle, but I do think that even though they have a massive need at receiver, Jalen Waddle isn't the type of receiver that they really need. Last year they drafted a fast field stretcher with Jalen Reagor. So I think that, and they also have, Travis Fulgham and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. But I don't really think the Eagles are in need of a Jalen Waddle type receiver at the moment. And they do have a need at cornerback. I think that you can address receiver with perhaps a more fitting player later in the draft, because this is a great receiver class. And I do think that Patrick Surtain is a great player that you can't really pass up here at 12. Now moving on to number 13 with the Chargers. Immediately looking at their depth chart, you can probably see that they have a gaping hole at left tackle, which, given the players on the board right here and the strengths and weaknesses of their roster, I think that even though it's a little bit of a reach, I think that they should take Christian Darrisaw, tackle from Virginia Tech. I'm not high enough on, I don't have Darrisaw as the top 15 grade in this class, but I still do think he's very good. He's very athletic. He can move really well in space and is a great run blocker for that reason. He has probably decent pass blocking technique, and he's just an overall, I would say, slightly above average pass blocker coming out of college. 13, it's a little bit high for my taste and my opinion on Darrisaw, but I still do think he's a very good player, and I think given the need of left tackle for the Chargers, he's a reasonable pick here. Now on to number 14 with the Vikings. They're in a similar boat as the Chargers. They have massive needs at tackle and guard. Really the only staple of that line, the only position I feel great at, is with right tackle with Brian O'Neill. So given their just huge needs all over the offensive line, I think that the best option here is to take a pretty versatile, very versatile offensive lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker. I like him a lot at guard. I think that he's a decent tackle, and maybe you test him out at tackle given the positional value of tackle. But if he doesn't work out at tackle, you could also kick him into guard, where I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. He's the guard one in this class, in my opinion. So Vikings just need offensive line help. Elijah Vera Tucker will give them that. Now moving on to number 15 with the Patriots, and here I have the Patriots taking Jalen Waddle. A lot of people probably here would probably be looking at a certain quarterback from Alabama, but I think that the Patriots do need some more weapons on that offense. They obviously brought in Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Aguilar, and then they have Jacoby Myers there. But Jalen Waddle is just such a great player, such a great playmaker all overall on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that he would be a great fit in New England and their current roster. Number 16, we have the Cardinals, and I think that they're going to be taking Greg Newsome, the corner from Northwestern. The Cardinals have a huge need at cornerback right now. Really the only reliable guy they have there is Byron Murphy, who I like more as a nickel. And Greg Newsome, he did have some injury concerns. He had some durability issues. And on tape, he's not even my cornerback 3. Cornerback 3 on tape has even more severe injury concerns. But I still do like Greg Newsome quite a bit. He plays primarily off coverage, but he has great speed, super athletic, great hips, and I just think he's going to be a great cornerback at the next level. 17th, we have the Raiders. This pick is surely going to be wrong because the Raiders are just completely random, it seems, in their draft choices usually. But here I'm going to have them taking Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, quote-unquote linebacker, but he does play all over the field. He plays nickel corner, he plays safety, he plays linebacker. He's just super versatile, and that's what the Raiders need right now. They really are, in my opinion, below average at almost every single position on the defensive side of the ball. They just need some sort of playmaker, some sort of versatile player like Owusu-Koramoah on that defense. I think he's going to be able to provide that. Number 18, I have the Miami Dolphins again with their second pick. And given their recent trading of Ereck Flowers and then the announcement or report that Robert Hunt, the former right tackle, is moving to guard, that opens up a need at right tackle where I think that they should take Tevin Jenkins, in my opinion, the third best tackle in this class. He's just an absolutely vicious run blocker, has tons of pancakes in pass protection. He has solid technique, and he's just overall a really good right tackle that I think is going to be the staple there for years to come. 19, we have the Washington football team, and this is finally where I think Mac Jones is going to go. Mac Jones is what he is. He has a good processor, pre-snap and post-snap, good decision maker. He's accurate. It's a decent enough arm. He's not very mobile, but it's not like he doesn't have stone feet or anything. He's just not super athletic. He's kind of a conservative pick, but I think that he could definitely be a franchise quarterback. I like what the football team has going on over there with the culture. He could potentially even sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a minute over there. And I just think that the football team needs a direction to go that now that they've established that culture. They made the playoffs last year. They need to invest in a franchise quarterback, and I think that Mac Jones could definitely be that for them. Now at 20th, I have the Chicago Bears with the second trade of this draft. I have them trading the 20th pick to the Ravens, and they will be getting the 27th pick and then obviously other picks as well. But they will be trading down to 27 with the Ravens trading up to 20. And the reason for this, for the Ravens, is to grab Rashad Bateman. They need an alpha receiver. Rashad Bateman is going to bring some variance to that offense in terms of not just being a pure speed guy. He's a very good route runner, very good hands, works in the slot, but I think he'd also work outside, given Marquise Brown is already there in Baltimore. And I just think he's an all-around great receiver. I think he could definitely be the receiver one for the Ravens for years to come. Now at 21, we have the Indianapolis Colts, and this one's pretty simple to me. I think they're going to be going with Brady Christensen here. He's going to be the replacement for Anthony Costanzo, who just retired this past offseason. He has already good in pass protection, already efficient there. He's not a very good run blocker just yet, but he has the athleticism to get out in space and potentially be a plus run blocker in the future. So I like Brady Christensen, and I like the coaching staff of the Colts to be able to bring him along, and I think this would be a good pick there. Now at 22, we have the Titans, who I think after losing Corey Davis, after losing Jonnu Smith, they need a influx in that receiver room, and so I think that they should be going with Elijah Moore here. Yeah, don't let his size fool you. He has really good speed, really good hands, plays way bigger than his size would say. He's a good route runner. He's just, I don't know, I absolutely love Elijah Moore. I think that he can do it all. Obviously, his size can be a factor, but I think that he could step in here and be wide receiver 2, and a great wide receiver 2 at that, next to A.J. Brown. Number 23, I have the Jets taking Caleb Farley. He was the corner I was talking about earlier with Greg Newsome being the third best corner on tape, at least. Caleb Farley's a tremendous corner. He can play in both man and zone coverage. He's great in off coverage primarily, but there is, of course, those severe back injury concerns that he has that causes him to drop this far on the board. But I think the Jets do have a big need at cornerback, and it is worth taking a risk on such a high potential player in Caleb Farley. Now at number 24, we have the Steelers, and they have pretty much for years now neglected drafting tackle specifically, but offensive line as a whole up high, and I think that it's time that they finally do that, and they're going to be doing that with Sam Cosmi from Texas. He is kind of a raw prospect right now, especially in pass protection, but he's just an absolute athletic freak. He's extremely fast, probably the most mobile tackle in this entire class. He's a pretty good anchor too. He's very good at run blocking, and I just think that with the proper development with the Steelers, which the Steelers have proven they can provide for offensive linemen, he can turn into a great player. Then at 25, the Jags have their second pick in the draft, and I think here they're going to be taking Christian Barmore. This obviously is going to be kind of a replacement for Taven Bryan, who they drafted in the first round just a few years ago, but I do think that Taven Bryan, it's kind of time to start giving up on that experiment. He haven't really turned out anything. Of course, you can keep him on the roster, see if he can develop, but at least bring some competition in there with Barmore. Though I don't think he's like an athletic freak or anything, I don't think he has the highest ceiling. in this class for defensive tackles. I do think that he brings a very good floor, and he's going to be a good run stopper and a very good pass rusher the second he enters the league. So I think that he's a nice, safe pick to help booster that defense for the Jags. Then with the 26th pick, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Jamin Davis from Kentucky, the linebacker. I think Jamin Davis is honestly similar to Micah Parsons athletically. He's not quite that fast, but he also plays the position with the nuance of what you would want for a first-round pick. He's very good at finding the ball on run plays, and he's also a proficient coverage linebacker with those movement skills, and he has some nuance to his zone coverage game as well. He has a good feel in zone coverage. So I really like Jamin Davis. I think that not obviously I have him below Jeremiah Wusu-Koroma for quote-unquote linebacker, but just in terms of like being a pure Mike linebacker, I think Jamin Davis is the best in this class. Then at 27, after the trade down with the Ravens, we have the Bears here, and they're going to be taking tackle, where is he? Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame. He obviously did primarily play left tackle at Notre Dame, and the Bears' need is primarily at right tackle, with Germain Ifedi being the right tackle there right now, I believe. I think Eichenberg, though he doesn't have the highest ceiling in the class, he's not super athletic. He's a very good pass blocker right now. He has very good technique there. He went up against some players with actually developed pass rush moves, and he held his own against them. He's not a great run blocker, but he's a good pass blocker. He's going to be able to step in day one and be a good pass protector and a good tackle overall. Then number 28 is with the Saints. We have them taking Eric Stokes, the corner from Georgia. This might be surprising to some people. I am definitely higher on Stokes than a lot of people. I just think he's super crazy athletic. He's very good in press coverage. He doesn't have the best man coverage technique in terms of route recognition and using his hands to feel out routes. But I think that he is super athletic. He tested really well. He ran, I believe, sub 4.3 40, and he's already a good press cover corner. I think that with the Saints and their coaching staff, I think that he's going to be able to develop very nicely there. And I just think that he's such a high ceiling that it's definitely worth taking, even if right now he's not the most developed corner. Now at 29, we have the Packers, and all year long I'm saying that the Packers should be taking receiver, but I recently have changed my mind about that. I think that they should take a Melifonwu from Syracuse. Obviously, right now you can't, if you want to have a chance at winning a Super Bowl like the Packers do, you cannot have Kevin King as a boundary corner, starting boundary corner. And I do like Melifonwu quite a bit. He's super long. He's surprisingly athletic and quick. He doesn't have a lot of experience in press coverage, but he definitely has the potential to be good there with his length and his strength. But he's super good at recognizing routes. He just has good overall man coverage technique. Didn't play a lot of zone here at Syracuse, but I just think that he has super high potential with his frame and his athleticism, mobility, and I think he already brings good technique, and I think that the Packers would be getting a huge upgrade over Kevin King. Then at 30, we have a third straight cornerback going, as I have the Bills selecting Asante Samuel Jr., who is just an overall very good corner. He has great ball skills. He's going to be able to be an upgrade over Taron Johnson or Josh Norman, if he's still on the team there. Outside of Tre'Davious White, I really don't like the Bills' cornerback room. And Asante Samuel, he's good in zone coverage, good in man coverage, good athlete, very good ball skills. He's just an overall solid player. He might be a little bit undersized, but I think he's very tenacious, he's very physical, and I think he's going to be able to take his game to the next level with the Bills. Then at 31, with the Baltimore Ravens, I really want to take a tackle here after they just lost Orlando Brown to the Chiefs. Obviously, they got this pick. I don't really think there's a tackle that I want to take at this point in the draft. I think that you could probably get one later or sign one in free agency. I just don't really love the idea of taking a tackle here at 31, given who's left on the board. So I'm going to be taking Kwity Paye. He has fallen a little bit past what most people would probably expect. He's just a super athletic edge rusher, and I think that the Ravens have shown that they're very good at developing edge rushers. He doesn't have the best technique just yet, but he has good hips, good bend. He's super strong. He's super explosive, and I just think that he has such high potential, and the Ravens are going to be able to make the best of that potential. And last but not least, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl 2021 winners. And this one's going to be similar to the Ravens trade. I'm going to be taking a super athletic edge rusher in Jayson Oweh from Penn State. He's even less developed than Kwity Paye, I would say, but he's just absolutely insane athletically. He ran a crazy 40 time. He's super agile, super explosive. And I think that the Bucs coaching staff and the players there, he's going to be able to learn behind Shaq Barrett and JPP. Shaq Barrett being an absolutely insanely elite pass rusher, and JPP obviously has been an elite pass rusher in the past and is still solid and will be able to provide good coaching for Oweh. So I think this is going to be a great place for him to develop his technique, and he's already such a great athlete that I think, the second JPP is gone, Shaq Barrett and Jayson Oweh are going to be one of the best edge duos in the league. So that rounds up my draft. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.